Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. It's BJ again.
I'm Patrick, and we're realtors here in Victoria, BC.
And today we're going to talk about when is the right time to buy. It's a question we get asked a lot. You know, should we buy now? Should we wait? What if the market changes? And we know the market is always changing. It's never static, it's cyclical. So, we thought this was a great question to ask. So, Patrick, someone asks you what's the right time to buy. What do you tell them?
Well, I think it's if that particular person is ready to buy, then don't wait. And I don't mean like buy the next thing that happens or comes along tomorrow.
Right.
But if you're going to take 6 months or 3 months or a few weeks or even a year to find the right home for you, that's fine. What I'm encouraging everybody is like, don't wait for the market for you that you can afford. If you can afford it now, if your credit is good, your work history is good, you have a down payment ready, there's no sense in waiting. And at the end, I'll explain why it's going to be more difficult to buy in the future.
Sure. And, it's a great point because I think of one client very specifically who said to me at one point, no, we're not, we've decided not to buy because we think the market's going to change and we're going to be in a better position. Well, let me tell you, that was in 2012. And now it's 2022. And if we were to look at the trend, even though it's been maybe a little bit of up and down, but it's trended upward all the way. And I had the conversation with the same client and he said, we're priced out of the market now. They were in a position where they could have bought. They had, like Patrick said, they had their down payment, they had their credit in good order, and they had good jobs, but they thought, they'd wait and get something better. And I think that you have to understand, we're talking about you buying a home to live in. It's not necessarily something for you to speculate like an investor might on a property. But, in Victoria and really anywhere, over 10 years, the market continues to go up. And certainly in the Victoria area, we could say if there's any bounces in the market, it comes back, right?
Yeah, it goes... Every time it's gone down, it's basically knee-jerk reaction. It's gone way up previous to the past high prices. So, I think every realtor has this story that they've met clients and they've gotten priced out of the market. I remember my first open houses, but this is like almost 20 years ago. People would come into my open houses and say, oh, I'm going to wait till the market's going to crash or the prices are going to go down. And this was still only like 2004, 2005. And obviously prices have basically tripled since then.
Sure.
So if you can afford it, you can do the payments. There's no reason to wait and think like, oh, the price is going to come down that you can afford. Now, I would even give this advice to people outside of this market area as well. Now, take it with a grain of salt. You got your own personal circumstances, right? I'm not advising each individual what to do, but even if it's in a stable market where you haven't seen increases like Victoria, where prices have doubled over 10 years or tripled over 15 or 20 years, but you're not there to speculate on a house. Yes, you'll build equity on a property, but if you can buy it, like you don't know what the future is going to hold for you, right? If you're going to go into any financial trouble, you might go through a period of unemployment, but you can still scrape together the payments on your house now, but you might not be able to buy a house in the future. So that's kind of
sure
where I want to leave that with. Yeah.
And I think what goes with that for me is you can make a rent payment or you can make a mortgage payment. And if you're making a mortgage payment, yes, some of that is interest and everything, but you're paying yourself. You're building equity in what you own and in your home. And, ultimately, it's also about having a roof over your heads, our heads and your heads, that you're comfortable with, that you, when you do something on your house, you're adding value to yourself and to your family. And so, I was just recently with some clients looking at a condo for them, which was, it's a 1-bedroom condo, but a great space for them. And they said, this is our home for the next 5 years, and this allows us to invest in ourselves. And maybe you could think of it that way. One of the things that you're doing when when you're buying a home is you're investing in your future and you're investing in yourself. And it's really about, making that decision that now is the time. And I think, people have asked me, when's the right time to buy a house? Well, it's when you need a house or a condo or a townhouse. It's the right time to buy is when you're in a position to buy. So, that means your down payment, that means your credit, that means you're in a stable job position or whatever your income position is like. That's the right time to buy.
Yeah, I completely agree. Anybody who's thinking like it's going to go down so cheap to match your affordability, I would challenge them. If look at history, the past 5 years, past 10 years, past 20 years, it's become increasingly more difficult to buy. And it's not just the interest rates gone up and taken away people's buying power, or the prices have gone up. On an overall picture, we have 450,000 new Canadians coming in under current federal policy, and the major ports. What's it called? Anyways, the major ports that people arrive in Canada are going to be at Vancouver and Toronto. So even during this pandemic, we still saw a positive net growth of Victoria of 6,000 people. This is including deaths. And our housing starts for the year are something like 2,500 units. So there's just not enough building to be happening. The processes are too restrictive. So, and builders are going to try to anticipate to match the demand for homes. They're not doing this out of volunteering and charity work, even though they might do a lot of charity work. They're not building homes for charity. So they're not going to oversupply the market and drive the price down. That would be counterproductive, or that would be against their own best interest.
Sure. Yeah. So really, I think we could synopsize what we've said into this simple, 1 or 2 lines of when is the best time to buy. The best time to buy is when you're ready to buy. And when you're in a position to buy, start the process, go out and have a look. Because, the other thing you'll find out as you engage, whether it's here or in another market, it might take months or it might take a year to find the right property. It shouldn't, but, different markets are different. I've had clients over the years that for different reasons we had to put, an active search on hold because of health issues or things like that. But we kept the process moving forward so that we were still able to get them a home. So when's the right time to buy? The right time to buy is when you need a home. And so if you're saying, well, how do I get ready? That'll be another video that we'll do for another day where we talk about getting ready to buy a home and what do I need to do and what are the things I need to do for my credit and things like that, and how can I be prepared. We'll talk about that another time. But really, if you're in a position to buy and you're ready, now's the time.
I'm going to add one more thing to that. Concrete evidence of history that the government and the banks may have made it in the past 20 years harder and harder for people to buy. So I have notes, but I'm not going to read them all because I'll bore you to death. But back in before 2006, CMHC was only insuring 25-year mortgages. So to get a short mortgage on a home, it costs you more, that additional fees for your mortgage insurance. After 2006, they started insuring 30, 35, and 40-year mortgages. And as time went by, the amortization rates started to decrease. Like, I'm still on a 40-year mortgage. My payments are, it's ridiculously low. It's so advantageous for me. But in 2008, they reduced it to 35 years. 2011, 30 years. 2012, 25 years. So from going from the life of your mortgage to having 40 years to pay it off down to 25, it makes it more expensive monthly for everybody to purchase a home. the thing that's been happening, what is it, since 2010, is the stress test. So they're making it more difficult. They're testing you at a higher rate, even though they want to push down your purchasing power to protect themselves, so the banks are not overexposed.
Right.
So this has happened. So since 2010, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times that the stress test has either been implemented or increased in its threshold. There's a few more, but I'll predict this. We have the cooling off period that's going to be happening in January 1st of next year, which to me is a little too little too late. And it's not going to be applicable to a market that doesn't have multiple offers and people bidding hundreds of thousands of dollars over the price.
Sure.
I think what they'll do is they'll start pulling back, start putting more restrictive policies if the prices start coming down. The banks do not want to overexpose themselves when the market comes down.
Sure.
Right? All of these policies were on the backside of markets coming down.
Yeah.
So if you can do it now, don't wait.
Excellent. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks again.
See ya.